looking is an art. It's so clear to me now. So simple and basic. It can be argued in just 3 lines. Your vision, the limits of your sight, is a frame. Your vision, what you choose to look at, is a composition. Your vision is a composition in a frame. Therefore, looking, the basic act of looking, is art making. Looking is an art. The basic human act is an art. I'm making art. I'm always making art, so long as I'm looking. What of the spectator, the viewer, the audience member, passively looking at art? What of them? Well, we may have just eliminated that category person altogether. Turned them all into artists, because the spectator is an artist. They may be standing or sitting still, hands down, mouths closed, but they're not passive. No, their heads are moving. Their eyes are moving, constantly shifting, constantly changing the objects in their visual frames. There is no one in this room who is not making art at this moment. Me, the performer with my performance, and you, the audience member, by actively and creatively framing my performance in your eyes. Because looking is an art. 3 lines. 3 lines is all it took to force this conclusion. And really, only one. From your vision is a frame, which is part of the basic definition of sight. Your vision is composition, and vision is an art, and all else follows. Because it really is that simple, basic, and undeniable. Looking is an art. Yeah, well, so what? I mean, what follows from this idea, this recognition? What are the consequences? What has changed? And most importantly, what's the cash value of possessing this idea? I mean, what's it worth to me? Why is this guy even on stage? Get him up! Get him! make art even as we look. What I didn't say is whether this art that we make is any good. It's not. Most of it is shite. I mean, think about it. Most of our visual experience is derivative, repetitive, monotonous, boring, and frankly a little bit aversive to us. As it turns out, it's our fault. It's our bad art. But that's because we didn't know. We weren't aware of our creative agency, our control over the beauty or the ugliness of our visual experience. So, the consequence of this idea, this new medium of art, is that we begin to raise the standard of beauty in the art of looking, and raise it until all that we see is beauty and interest and pleasure. Over the next few minutes, I will tell you how to do it. So, how do we raise the standard of beauty in the art that we make, even as we look? Well, as an art, looking is informed by each of the cultivated arts: sculpture, architecture, painting, etc. Each inspires the art of looking. Each can teach us how to make beauty in our visual frames. Each of the arts, all the arts. But two of the arts are really quite similar to the art of looking. And for this reason, they can teach us more about the art of looking more quickly. They are photography and cinematography. Think about it. When you are standing or sitting still and looking at something that is still, what you're doing is quite like still photography. Click. Whereas when you're moving and looking as you move, what you're doing is really quite like motion picture cinematography. Click, 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 click. Since your time is precious, I'm going to focus on just one of the two, cinematography, which, because it consists of a rapid succession of stills, is it 26 per minute? Second, it can be said to contain photography within it. So it'd be a little bit like I'm talking about both. So, cinematography and the art of looking. Motion picture cinematographers, who we parallel as the makers of our own little movies, say something about their art which parallels and reinforces what I've said about the art of looking and why we should cultivate it. They say the main reason for cinematography, the main reason for their art, is taking the audience on new camera approaches of old and overly familiar camera subjects, like a Victorian ball or another medieval battle or the White House again or a children's birthday party nostalgically. Because new cameras make these things that would be boring and even unpleasant to see again interesting and pleasurable. New again. And that's because from a new distance, an angle, from a new camera position, the image that an object presents to the eye is changed. Changed and transformed. It is new again. As the art of cinematography informs the art of looking, what this means is that it's not the repetitive things and scenes and faces in our lives that are boring. It's our visual approaches to them as the cinematographers of our own lives. The other thing that this quotation means is that cinematography can teach us how to make these things, the very sources of dull monotony in our lives, into the ever-renewing resources of interest and pleasure and beauty in our lives. New camera moves. We have to learn new camera moves. Now, to help you to begin copying camera movements and frames in your life, I'm going to more closely describe this parallel that exists between a cinematographer shooting something with their camera and you looking at something. Your vision is a film frame. By a certain analogy, you are the film camera filming your life. You're the film camera, the tripod, and the dolly. It's moving camera mount. Dolly. You're the camera, the tripod, the dolly, and the cinematographer. You're also the actor. Be excellent to one another. The writer, the director, the producer, the movie screen, and the general audience watching your life. But for now, we'll just consider how you are quite like a cinematographer filming your life on camera. For example, panning shots. Now you model a cinematographer's panning shot any time you turn your head while standing or sitting still. Panning. As I walk back and forth across this stage, you are like a big room full of cinematographers at their tripods, panning to keep me in visual frame. Panning. Whereas you truly model a cinematographer's tracking shot any time you look as you move. That's me modeling tracking. What I'm getting at is almost any movie camera shot you see as you're watching your favorite films can be modeled in the art of looking by a set sequence of head movements and position changes with respect to your subject. Almost any shot. The other thing I'm getting at is there is almost no moment that you are not modeling a film camera. The analogy between you and film camera is continuous and unbroken. So the way you or I approach something in our daily lives, our car, our office, our desk, or even our spouse corresponds to one or another shot in the art of cinematography. And being more or less habitual, the same shot each day. Each day we are progressively rendering these things, the stuff of life, uninteresting, boring, and even mildly unpleasant. We are rendering our lives unpleasant through these repetitive visual approaches. But if you begin to use the cinematographic model of the art of looking, you'll learn from a movie you'd already be watching a new approach. One that realizes new interest and new pleasure in that which is old. One shot, and then another. The next day, another. The next movie, another. And another. Each day, new interest and new pleasure in these very things that define the repetitions and grinding monotony of a prisoner's existence. And then another. And then another. And then another. And another. With each beautiful frame and camera movement you copy from the art of cinematography, the standard of beauty in your art of looking rises and rises. New shots arising, each day rising and rising. Things will just become more beautiful. Life will become more beautiful to you and interesting and pleasurable. It'll be like you're always standing in front of a beautiful painting. And then another. You'll learn another and another shot. And another. The next day, another. Each day, renewing interest and pleasure in the scenes and stories, faces and things of your life. Another and another. Rising in interest, beauty, and pleasure. Your life. You know? You'll also be learning to cultivate a personal style consisting of those camera moves that you prefer as an artist. Just as Kubrick and Kurosawa have a style in their cinematography, you'll have a style in the way that you look at the world. And then another. And then another. Rising standards. From the next film, another. The next TV show, another. And another. More, rising beauty, rising pleasure, rising interest with each frame. You'll also be learning how to structure a series of vantages and approaches on an object, which parallel the way a cinematographer structures a series of shots to compose a short film or feature-length movie. If you pursue this more and more, the people and the things and the scenes and the stories of your life will acquire the cinematographic quality of movies. Your life will seem more and more like a movie, and a movie in your style. Your movie. Each day. Your movie. Your star vehicle. And then another. And then you'll learn another. And another. Finally, with each beautiful frame and movement you copy from the movies, you will be inspired. You will think of new visual approaches, including those that don't exist in the movies, and those that can't exist in the movies, but are unique to the art of looking. Each will inspire. So, you will find soon after you begin to use the cinematographic model of the art of looking, you'll stop. And you'll stop using photography, and you'll stop using sculpture and architecture and painting too. Because your art of looking will inspire itself. Just as cinematography inspires itself through its own rich tradition and history. Through you, the art of looking will have risen to cultivation, and everything will be beautiful. You know, one day looking will be accepted as such. And on that bittersweet day, this paper that I've written and am reading will be obsolete and forgotten. Because it's simple, basic, and undeniable truth will be accepted as such by everyone. As self-arguing and self-evident, looking is an art. thank you so much for watching my performance of Looking is an Art. The second and subsequent videos in this series will teach you additional technique adapted from cinematography to your viewing pleasure. The first lesson was, of course, implicit in the cinematography of this video, namely that you should frequently change the angle at which you view something to frequently refresh your interest in it. I'll also be getting around to explaining these, my art frame glasses. Feel free to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of these intriguing vids. Also, to heart, like, or dislike this video and comment upon it. I'm interested in talking to you too. Thanks again.